She's been photographed, filmed, hunted with sonar. For nearly a century, one creature has captivated the world more than any dragon, werewolf, or sea serpent ever could: the Loch Ness Monster. But here's what doesn't make sense. Every legitimate scientist who has ever studied Loch Ness says she see and exist. The loch has been scanned with military-grade technology, DNA sampled, explored by submarines. Yet people keep seeing her. In 2024, there were more reported sightings than in any year since the 1930s. Not fewer, more. In an age where we've mapped the ocean floor and photographed black holes, we still can't let go of Nessie. But what if that's exactly the point? You probably think the Loch Ness Monster started with that famous 1934 photograph, the one showing a long neck rising from dark water. The surgeon's photo that appeared in newspapers worldwide and launched 1,000 expeditions. That photo was a hoax, proven in 1994, a toy submarine with a sculpted head, a prank that fooled the planet. Therefore, the legend should have died right there. The monster exposed as rubber and wood. However, sightings didn't stop. They accelerated. Because Nessie's story didn't begin in 1934. It began 14 centuries earlier, in the year 565 AD, when an Irish monk named Saint Columba allegedly saved a man from a water beast in the River Ness. The creature had just killed a swimmer. Columba commanded it to retreat, and according to his biographer, it obeyed. For medieval Scots, this was just one of many water spirits haunting their lochs. Kelpies, shapeshifters, creatures born from the same dark imagination that created selkies and banshees. Loch Ness was deep, cold, mysterious. Of course something lived down there. But the modern Nessie? She's different. She arrived with cars, cameras, and newspapers. In 1933, a new road opened along Loch Ness, and suddenly people could drive along the shore. That's when sightings exploded. George Spicer and his wife saw a most extraordinary form of animal cross the road in front of their car. Described it as having a long neck and a huge body. No legs, just undulating movement. Within weeks, newspapers across Britain were printing monster headlines. The frenzy had begun. Let's talk about what Loch Ness actually is. 23 miles long, over 700 feet deep at its darkest point. It contains more fresh water than all the lakes in England and Wales combined. Cold, murky, filled with peat particles that make visibility almost zero below a few feet. Sounds like the perfect hiding place, right? Wrong. Biologists have explained this repeatedly. A breeding population of large animals, and you need at least a dozen to avoid extinction, requires an ecosystem that simply doesn't exist in Loch Ness. The loch doesn't contain enough fish to support even one massive predator, let alone a family of them stretching back centuries. In 2003, the BBC sponsored a comprehensive sonar sweep. They used 600 separate sonar beams and satellite positioning. They covered every cubic meter of water. Result? Nothing. No large animals. No hidden caves. Just eels, salmon, and the occasional seal that wandered in from the sea. In 2018, scientists took it further. They collected DNA samples from throughout the loch and analyzed them, looking for any trace of a large, unknown animal. They found DNA from 3,000 species: fish, birds, bacteria, humans, dogs, sheep, and an enormous amount of eel DNA. The lead scientist, Professor Neil Gemmell, offered this: if there's a monster in Loch Ness, it's probably just a really, really big eel. Not romantic, not ancient, just an oversized fish. Therefore, case closed. Mystery solved. Nessie debunked. Yet in 2023, over 1,000 people visited the official Loch Ness Monster sightings register. Hundreds claimed they'd seen something. A hump, a wake with no boat, a dark shape moving against the current. Why? Here's where it gets interesting. Nessie isn't really about a dinosaur surviving in a Scottish loch. She never was. She's about something deeper, something primal. You see, humans need mysteries. We need places on the map that still whisper, "Here be dragons." Think about it. We've domesticated the entire planet. You can Google Earth your way into the remotest jungle. Drones photograph Arctic ice shelves. Satellites track whales migrating across oceans. There's nowhere left that's truly unknown, except maybe the depths of Loch Ness. Psychologists call this mystery hunger. The human brain evolved in a world full of genuine threats and unknowns. Predators in the darkness. dangers beyond the next hill. Our ancestors who stayed alert, who imagined threats, who saw patterns in shadows, they survived. The optimists who assumed every rustle was just the wind, they got eaten. We're descendants of paranoid pattern seekers. So when you're standing on the shore of Loch Ness, staring at dark water rippled by wind, your brain does what it's designed to do. It fills in the blanks. That wave becomes a hump. That floating log becomes a neck. That shadow becomes an eye watching you from below. But there's more. Nessie represents rebellion against scientific certainty. In an age where experts tell us they've figured everything out, believing in Nessie is an act of defiance. It says, maybe you don't know everything. Maybe there's still magic in the world. Maybe wonder is worth more than data. The monster hunters aren't fools. They're romantics. They're people who choose mystery over certainty, possibility over proof. Adrian Shine has spent 50 years studying Loch Ness, not hunting the monster, studying the loch itself, its ecology, its history, its peculiar effects on light and water. He's documented hundreds of sightings, and he's explained most of them. Boat wakes that persist for miles in calm water, looking like a serpentine back. Floating logs that absorb water and bob vertically, resembling a head and neck. Optical illusions caused by wind patterns and light refraction. However, he's also honest about something crucial. He understands why people want to believe. Because Loch Ness is genuinely strange. It's a place where reality bends slightly, where your eyes play tricks, where the ordinary becomes extraordinary if you look at it the right way. Then there's Gary Campbell, keeper of the official Loch Ness Monster Sightings Register. He's logged every reported sighting since 1933, over 1,100 entries. He doesn't claim they're all real. He doesn't even claim one is real. But he maintains the record because, as he puts it, people deserve to have their experiences taken seriously. And the experiences continue. In 2019, a couple captured video of a dark shape moving through the water, creating a wake too large for any known fish. In 2021, a webcam overlooking the loch recorded an unexplained disturbance lasting several minutes. In 2023, a tourist photographed what appeared to be 3 humps moving in formation. All easily explainable. Probably. Possibly. Maybe. Here's what makes Nessie special among monsters. She's democratic. You don't need to trek into the Himalayas to hunt Yeti. You don't need to explore uncharted Pacific islands for undiscovered species. Loch Ness is accessible. There's a road. Hotels. Gift shops selling plush monsters. Anyone with a camera can become a monster hunter. This accessibility transforms Nessie from folklore into participatory mythology. She's not a story told around campfires. She's a living legend you can engage with. You can visit Loch Ness today, stand on its shores, scan the water, and become part of the story. Your sighting, real or imagined, adds to the narrative. That's powerful. It's why Nessie has survived scientific debunking, photographic hoaxes, and comprehensive sonar surveys. She exists in the space between proof and possibility. She's Schrodinger's monster, simultaneously real and imaginary until someone finally captures undeniable evidence. But here's the secret. Nobody really wants undeniable evidence. If scientists pulled a carcass from Loch Ness tomorrow, identified it as a misplaced sturgeon or an oversized catfish, the magic would die. Nessie would transform from legend into biology, from wonder into taxonomy, from mystery into fact, and we'd lose something irreplaceable. So does the Loch Ness Monster exist? The scientific answer is no. The evidence is overwhelming. The loch has been studied more intensively than almost any body of water on Earth. If a large, unknown creature lived there, we'd have found it by now. But the human answer? That's more complicated. Nessie exists in the same way that all great myths exist, as a reflection of our deepest needs. Our hunger for mystery, our resistance to complete certainty, our desire for a world where the impossible hasn't been entirely eliminated. She survived for 90 years not despite science, but because of what science has taken from us. Every mystery solved is a wonder lost. Every unknown catalogued is a dragon slain. Nessie represents our last stand against total knowledge. She's the monster we need to exist, even if she doesn't. And perhaps that's the most remarkable thing about her. Nessie has achieved true immortality, not as a biological creature, but as an idea. As long as humans crave mystery, as long as we need places where magic might still linger, the Loch Ness Monster will never die. She'll always be just beneath the surface, just beyond the next wave, just outside the frame of the camera, waiting. Because the real question was never, is Nessie real? It was always, why do we need her to be? And now you know the answer. You've just experienced something that thousands of scientists, millions of words, and nearly a century of searching have proven beyond doubt. Some monsters are too important to kill. Some legends are too valuable to debunk. Nessie doesn't live in Loch Ness. She lives in that part of the human heart that refuses to accept a world without wonder. And that's a habitat that will never run dry.